All right, it is time to skol with the enemy, baby. All right, welcome back to Onebar and Lupagus Show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus, and of course, Ryan from Packernet Podcast joining us. Big matchup, Vikings, Packers. Boom. How you doing, man?
Well, we'll see when this game is over. I'm pretty nervous, and I just want it to be over with. If I'm being honest with you.
Wow, you got a long way to go. It's only
I
very
know.
early in the week.
It started with the Miami game because I was really nervous about that one, and as much as I'm happy about it, there's sort of a put me out of my misery feeling going on, is because it's so stressful with everything that needs to happen, and then everything just keeps going right, and it's like, all right, another week of stressing about this, I guess. But yeah, no, it's going all right. But this is not a fun situation to be in. I'm not used to this.
Well, we know a thing or two about stress as well this season. So hopefully by the end of this, you're going to help alleviate some of that stress, but I don't think you're going to.
Yeah, no, we'll see.
You might feed into it. So once again, Ryan from Packernet Podcast, hit up those links down in the description. He is our go-to for Packers. Go give him a sub. But let's just hop right into it. And I think this is what a lot of the stress has to do with. But can you think of anything worse than the Vikings bouncing the Packers from playoff contention?
No, and I was even just talking to a friend about that. I've been pretty, the way things have gone, I think most Packer fans have kind of reconciled with, all right, this isn't going to be the year, we're done, whatever. And then they start going on a run, and it's like, all right, you got to pick a lane. What are we going to do? And now that it's the Vikings, because the big thing is, well, you're messing up your big pick. If you gave me a choice between the number 3 overall pick, but you have to lose to the Vikings, or you beat the Vikings and there's no guarantees after that, screw the pick. We got to beat the Vikings at this point. I can't. I'm too invested. I can't let you guys bounce us and be the ones, especially with all the chatter that's been going back and forth. Vikings fans talking trash to the Packers calling Vikings frauds and everything. Like, we got to duke this one out, man. We can't lay down here.
Now we're talking. Love
it. Sounds like this is the Packers Super Bowl.
Well, you better hope it is. I'll say that.
All right. Do you truly believe this Packers team, honestly, can win out and get into the playoffs?
Well, yeah, I think they can. My thought on the last 3 games was it's kind of a coin flip in my mind. 50-50 on their ability to beat. So obviously the odds are not great of going all the way through, but I'm not looking at any one game going, yeah, we're not good enough to beat that team. Miami was 50-50 to me. We got through that one. We got another 50-50 this week. And I'm actually starting to feel a little better about Detroit, not just because of what happened with Carolina, but the more I learn about some of their deficiencies, how they're not nearly as good on the road and their struggles against the run and stuff, it sounds like it's potentially going to be all right, but we'll deal with that when we get there.
All right, so 7-8, ranked 3rd in the NFC North. Who are you putting the blame on this season as far as just the overall shitty season for the Packers? Players, coaches, mixture, certain player, who is it?
It's just really weird, and everything's up and down. Even now, like, things are technically looking better, but some guys like Kenny Clark, halfway through the season, he fell off. Like, what are you doing? Where did you go? So it's tough, man. I mean, Rodgers clearly has not had his best year. Don't say that too loudly on Packers Twitter. There are some people that will fight to the death over Rodgers and his abilities, but he's clearly really struggled this year in a lot of areas. I think I underestimated the Devontae thing, primarily because, it's one thing to have a good player leave. It's another thing to have a quarterback whose game plan is every single play, I'm just going to look at that guy. And then when you take that guy away and he stands there and goes, well, I don't know, I got no one to stare at anymore. I didn't realize that was going to be a problem, but apparently it is. Fortunately, he's been staring at Christian Watson a lot lately, and that's worked out. So we kind of got that guy that Rodgers can stare at. But no, I mean, it's been clunky to say the least. And then to have the defense just not show up. I mean, Jair is not Jair. Rashawn got hurt. Kenny fell off. The safeties, Adrian Amos has been great for a long time. This year, he's like, I don't feel like doing it anymore. I don't know what happened there. The defense has been getting better, but it's still just like, I don't know what it is. Like, they don't try. There's no energy. So yeah, I to answer your question, I can't pin it on one person. It's a little bit of everything, but that's kind of the thing. It's a little bit of everything.
Coaching wise, are you confident moving forward?
I'm of the opinion Joe Barry needs to go, the defensive coordinator. A lot of people are looking at it saying, well, you can't blame the scheme for guys not doing what they're supposed to do, but it doesn't have to just be the scheme. They're not playing for them. They don't want to play with any intensity. And if you're saying nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing, I'm sorry, but this falls on the defensive coordinator. We've seen them all play better than this. Even if you're telling me this is a great scheme that the Rams and everybody else run, fine, but we're not executing it like everybody else. And, at some point, it is the defensive coordinator's fault, even if it's the players who are not understanding what to do and it's the players that are not putting in the energy. Fine, find somebody that can get it out of them because they're just not putting it on the field right now.
So back in week 1, the Vikings got their most convincing win of the year, the one that we didn't have to sweat out at the end against the Packers. So what's different now, the Packers team that we're going to face this Sunday compared to the one back in week 1?
Well, I think everything's different. I was looking at some of the Vikings content out there, and a lot of it is, well, look at week 1. Dude, that was week 1. That might have been 2019 as far as I'm concerned. The Packers offense in particular was so bad to start the season. It was embarrassing. I mean, you saw they scored 7 points against the Vikings. I mean, it wasn't until I would say week 10 that the Packers found their offense, and that was where Christian Watson emerged. And it wasn't just because of his contribution, but the ability to kind of spread things out. We got a speed guy that can kind of stretch things out because everything was so compressed. We got these slow guys like Lazard and everything that can't get down the field. So, the run game has really picked up. The passing game has picked up. It's still clunky because we got stupid stuff like Rodgers overthrowing people. We got botched handoffs and nonsense, but it is a cleaner. If guys could just do their job a little bit better and find the right guys, throw to them, et cetera. The scheme is looking good. We got the players to execute it. And then the defense, which is weird because I posted a stat and even Packer fans are like, that doesn't seem right. The Packers defense is one of the top second half defenses and the number 1 fourth quarter defense in the NFL since like week 8. They're tied, I think, with the 49ers. So, I mean, they've just been clamping it down in the second. Not great, obviously, in the first half, but not a bad defense. Definitely underrated. And the second half, for whatever reason, they figured it out and they've really been shutting people down. So, it's just top to bottom. It's a different team. Some guys, there's some consistency, but it is a better offense, better defense. And of course the special teams. I mean, everybody at the beginning of the year, this Rich Bisaccia thing, a special teams coordinator, we brought him in. He's supposed to be great. Fire him. He's trash. This is garbage. Now, all of a sudden the special teams is the strength of the team. So, we got to see what happens with Keyshawn Nixon, who's our returner, because he's injured right now. That guy has been out of control, but if he plays, he's a big field flipper for us. So what's different? Pretty much everything. And I'm sure that's true for the Vikings as well.
Well, it's very disheartening that the stat of best fourth quarter defense, because that's where the Vikings seem to win their games, is both the last minute of every fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you kind of already answered this, but if the Packers sneak into the playoffs, are they a team that could, if they put it together, I mean, are they a team that could bounce anybody? Or are you just to the point where it's like, if they get in the playoffs, great, but they're not going anywhere?
Kind of, but then you're looking at a 5-game win streak, or however many games it is. So it's hard to completely count them out. But I think it was Kyle Brandt or something I was watching made some kind of a comment about I'm waiting for the Packers to put together 4 quarters before I can truly believe, and I think that's fair. Every game you're looking at, it's like, that was awesome in the second half, but what the heck was that in the first half? And it's been that way every single week with the exception maybe of like 2 games, like the Dallas game, I think was a complete game, and maybe the Rams or Chicago or something, I don't know. But no, it's constantly looking at this going, why do you suck? I don't, and it's really, really bad stuff. Like just, again, like fumbled handoffs. We've had like 4 of them. How do you not know how to hand the ball off? It's stupid stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to completely count them out, especially how bad everybody else is, with the exception of a couple teams. Everybody's fumbling around out there. And if they can go on a run, I guess you can't completely count them out. But no, I haven't seen. I mean, this is one of the worst Packers teams I've seen in Matt LaFleur's tenure. So it's going to be hard to think that this is the one that's going to do it all.
Yeah. So we've already mentioned Christian Watson a few times here, but I want to talk about him again. Is he the future number 1 receiver for this team? Is he more just that speed number 2 guy?
I would say he's the number 1, and the last couple of weeks have kind of convinced me of that. My whole thought was if he could just be the speed guy, I'll be happy. Just be an upgraded MVS, a guy that actually has speed to get down the field. And he was that at first, and that was exciting. And then he became a red zone threat. His 6'5" frame, Rodgers throwing it up to him, corner of the end zone. He's one of the top 50-50 ball guys in the NFL right now. And then on top of that, now he's starting to add receptions. This past game, he had 6 receptions and a half. So it's just he's the guy that Rodgers wants to go to. He's the chain mover to get a first down. He's the guy that we need a big catch. He's going to red zone. We go to him, deep threat. So he is clearly not as refined as most number ones, but he just has all those things that you need to get the receptions, the yards, the touchdowns. He's going to be a stat guy for sure.
Yeah, he's going to have himself a game on Sunday. I can guarantee that. Out of all your past years, as far as last handful of years, would you say this is the most annoyed that you've been with Vikings fans?
I think so, and not even until recently, but because I've always said most Packer fans dislike Vikings fans more than anything else. But I grew up in Illinois, so I just have a thing for Bears and Bears fans. I can't handle it. I'm constantly poking the bear, even when they're bad. My favorite thing to do is like once a week just say Justin Fields sucks and watch them just freak out. It just makes me so happy watching them lose their minds. But I think the biggest thing was when I realized some of the statistics about the Vikings and how fraudulent the team is overall. And so I put that out there like, dude, look at this. And then I start seeing Vikings fans come in, and usually it's pretty respectful. I got some that listen to the show or whatever. They'll come in and they'll be like, hey, have you considered this, as opposed to Bears fans who are like, I hope you die of cancer or something. The field sucks. So no, usually it ends up being some pretty thoughtful discussions. But no, I mean that has been the back and forth because I can't let it go. Like, dude, this is crazy. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And then they're fighting back. So it's a little bit of back and forth. So yeah, that has been contentious because we just don't agree with stuff. But it's still nowhere near the stuff I go through with Bears fans, and I don't think it ever will be.
Yeah, I mean, for us where we are, it's definitely Packers. But I totally get it. I get it's where you are, I think, on the borders.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, so what's the biggest weakness on the Packers right now? Is get ready to face them this Sunday.
I missed the important word in that sentence. What was it?
Biggest weakness on the Packers right now.
I mean, as much as the defense has been kind of a strength at times, I just don't trust them to do much of anything. People throw out the stat like they have the number 2 pass defense. I don't know. I think teams run against the Packers so much that they don't really get thrown on a bunch. And then you saw against Miami, like, again, you could call it a great pass defense because of 3 picks and 3 drives, but they were getting gashed pretty much at will throughout that game. So, yeah, I think it's been pretty rough, and I have no doubt Justin Jefferson's going to have a big game. The defense in general just makes me nervous. I just don't think that they've ever really been able to put it together. I am hopeful, though, that, second half they can find a way to clamp it down, and whatever deficit there might be, we can claw our way back. But I just think that the defense in general kind of gave up around halfway through the season when they realized this wasn't going to be a thing. And so I just don't really have any trust in them as a whole.
All right. Once again, Ryan from Packernet Podcast. Hit up the links. Give them a sub. Very entertaining podcast. Keeps it real. Does not sugarcoat anything. Looking next year, are you expecting to see a very different squad than you're seeing this year?
Well, I mean, if Rodgers isn't there, it'll be very different just from that perspective. But no, I think it'll be largely a lot of the same guys. A lot of people are kind of coming at me about, the cap situation the Packers and you guys are in trouble. It's like last year at this time we were negative 40 million going into 2022, and we managed just fine. We're in the black right now. They'll be fine. They'll figure it out. I do think some guys will probably leave. Adrian Amos will be gone. A few pieces will be moving on. Maybe Aaron Jones might be out the door. But I think largely the core of the team is relatively young. They're getting the big contracts. Rashawn Gary is going to be there. Jair. They just drafted Quay and Stokes, and the defensive line is all still going to be there with the exception maybe of Dean Lowry and whatnot. But no, I think most of the team is fairly young, and they're going to end up staying. Bakhtiari probably will end up staying unless Rodgers leaves. Then maybe that would be on the table. But no, I think it'll be a normal amount of turnover, and most of the guys will be coming back.
All right, so it's late December now. January's right around the corner. It's mock draft season. It's draft season. Have you done any yet? And if so, what position are you taking first for the Packers?
I'm way behind on it. I'm usually like the draft guy. That was my whole thing. I had my YouTube channel, which is just for the podcast, actually started as an NFL draft YouTube channel.
Let's do.
But I kind of have been falling behind this year in particular. I'm not in love with really anybody aside from Bijan, who I'm super stoked. I don't really want to take a running back in the first round, but that guy's just so exciting. The wide receivers I'm kind of so-so on. I've been looking at quarterbacks for the first time in a while. I don't really like any of them, to be completely honest with you. So I haven't really found anyone, especially where we're going to be drafting now. You know, back when I thought there was a chance for getting like a top 5 pick, there might have been some people, but I don't know. I mean, if I'll just say this: if I know Aaron Jones is leaving, despite the fact that picking a running back early is stupid, I think they should just pull the trigger if he's there, because that dude is awesome, and I'll get excited, especially if we're not going to be good anyways. Just get some people that are exciting, you know, like Christian Watson's, and just have some big plays and, you know, win 9 games and just have a good old time with it.
Heck yeah, why not?
All right, final. Love to hear that you guys are all in, that you want this game more than anything. I love it. But how do you actually seen it shaking out on Sunday in Lambeau?
I haven't gotten to the point of doing a score prediction, but I'm torn on 2 things. I genuinely believe, based on the way the last couple weeks have gone, that the Packers, especially at home, are marginally better than where the Vikings are. But I cannot get it out of my head, having watched the Vikings and Packers, that the Vikings are the better team. So I'm sure when you dive into the numbers and everything, Packers come out ahead. But I know the Vikings defense is really, really struggling, but I just can't get past, you know, I was scared of the Miami Dolphins because of the explosion of their offense. And I even said this when we were going into Miami. The Vikings are probably a more explosive offense than Miami is, despite everybody talking about Miami. So that one probably scares me more. I don't think I can give a score prediction. I'm on the fence. I would hate to sit here and say the Packers are going to lose, but I'll just say this. My head says the Packers win. My heart says the Packers lose.
Fair enough.
All right. There you have it. That's more than fair. One thing is sure, it will definitely be close. It will not be like week 1.
No.
But there you have it. Ryan, Packernet podcast. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you hopping on, man.
Absolutely.
Check out the links down and give them a sub.
Thank you.